One London-born painter determined to reveal it was William Hogarth. Though Hogarth rose to the top of his profession, he never forgot the poverty of his youth. Tucked away in this tiny but packed museum is Hogarth's greatest masterpiece. This is The Rake's Progress by Hogarth, the story of the decline and fall of a rich young man who comes to the city. It's a morality tale about the evils of 18th century life, of the effects of too much money, of drunkenness, of whoring, of gambling. But being Hogarth, he doesn't bludgeon the audience with his message. He does it all with terrific mischief and a sense of humour. The story starts with Tom Breakwell inheriting from his father. And there's Tom in the middle of the room being measured for a new suit to go to London, something he can now afford. And around, all the signs of his father's miserliness, a chest full of silver. There's a lawyer doing the accounts to show Tom his new wealth. And of course, the wealth goes to his head. He abandons the girl who he's promised to marry, Sarah, the maid, who's standing there in the corner holding the wedding ring rather forlorn, while an older woman points to the maid's stomach to Sarah to show that she's actually pregnant. Does Tom care? No. Tom goes off to London and in a moment is surrounded by all the temptations. There he is, getting dressed in front of all the people who dance attendance on him. A silver toque on his head where his wig will go. On the left, the music teacher wanting to teach him to play Handel. The dancing master on tiptoe with his violin. Down here there's a jockey with a great silver cup and a whip showing him the winnings he could have. And a man comes approaching him with a note of recommendation from another employer. So there he is, surrounded by everything that the great city has to offer. All the tricks of the trade, for which, of course, he will fall, and fall he does, in picture number 3. This is the Rose Tavern, a famous St. James brothel. And there's Tom, drunk. Clearly he's drunk, he's got a glass of wine, and there's wine all around, shirt's undone, his sword hanging limply by his side, a sort of symbol that with drunkenness his virility is gone. And the girls all have black spots to cover syphilitic sores. It's a scene of debauchery and chaos, the chaos into which Tom's life has already descended. And the consequences follow soon. He gets arrested. He's on his way to St. James's Palace to go to court. He's dressed in all his finery, but his wig comes askew as a man comes up to dun him for his debts. And who should appear to try and rescue him? Sarah, the girl that he betrayed. And she's offering him a little bag of money to pay his debts. So what happens then? In despair, Tom decides to get married. He takes the obvious course of looking for a rich widow in need of a husband. And choosing a really rich woman, he can't afford to be too picky about what she looks like. One-eyed and squat and dumpy. And his eyes are actually looking past her and to the buxom young servant girl who's dressing her for the marriage. But there's another bit of morality tale here, because being denied entrance to the church to complain about the marriage is Sarah once again. This time Sarah carrying her little baby in her arms. Now, what effect does the marriage have? Does Tom sober up? He's got the money, he could now lead a respectable life, and no doubt he could still have the odd maid from time to time. He goes off gambling. And this is the final downfall of Tom. Here he is at the gaming tables. He's just lost a large sum of money. In fact, everybody here seems to have lost money. And here in the centre, Tom, with a kind of manic look in his eyes, shaking his fist, cursing his misfortune, that all his money has gone. His wig's fallen off on the floor, the chair's fallen over. And finally, he does get done for his debt. He's thrown into the debtor's prison. And here he is in the Fleet, looking distraught. On his left sits the wife whose money he's spent, scolding him. One person, again, comes to rescue him, and it's Sarah, who comes and sees him in the debtor prison and faints away and has to be given smelling salts to revive her. And at the bottom, tugging at her mother's dress, is the child that she and Tom had. The child obviously looking anxious, distressed, angry at what's happened to her mother. And it gets worse. He ends up in Bedlam, the lunatic asylum, the place that ladies of fashion came to visit simply to gawp at this ghastly dance of the mad. This huge figure is Tom, chained up for his own safety, gone mad, and once again Sarah in this final scene, weeping over Tom and over what might have been and over the destruction of his life. It's an extraordinary story, and Hogarth tells it in a way that makes us feel a kind of sympathy for Tom, but at the same time with a humour, but also with a passion. It's perhaps because Hogarth himself knew what the 18th century was like. If you were up, you were up. If you were rich, you were fine. If you fell into poverty, your life could be hell.